G'day guys, welcome back to another episode of Level Up. We are back in the shed this afternoon for another cracking episode. I'm really pumped about this one this afternoon. Been wanting to get this guy on for a little while. He is another Elevate member, so he's part of my Live Like Build business. He has done incredible things in the last couple of years, and a big warm welcome to Jacob from Kingfisher Homes that has come all the way down from Rocky. How are you, mate?
Good, thank you, Duayne, and thanks for having us.
Mate, I'm excited. You're down from cattle country.
That's it, the beef capital of Australia, they call it.
Yeah.
And it's a good place to be. Like I keep telling people, we live in the best nation in the world. It's got to be Australia, right? And I think Queensland's the best state in the nation. And I think Rockhampton and the Capricorn Coast has got to be one of the best places in the whole state. So I live in the best place in the world. That's it.
Mate, it's definitely awesome up there. But we've had a few guests that have come down from up north, but a lot of our guests have come from down south. So it's really good to have another Queenslander on the podcast telling us how it is. How's business up in Rocky, mate?
Yeah, look, Rocky it's going hot. Like there's plenty going. There's like all of Australia. We need more houses. Like Australia needs more homes. Nothing to it. Big thing is just the developers are just drip feeding the market with land, and but it's coming on. And there's builders up there, and we're doing our bit. And but there's plenty of opportunity there. A lot of investment's been in. I'm seeing articles in like realestate.com, national media of talking about Rockhampton as a property place. Also, you Pearce, the Capricorn Coast, again, national media talking, could this be the next Byron Bay and things like that. So yeah. a lot of movement. Obviously, a lot of movement's been since COVID, but it continues to coming, people coming to the area. There's a lot of things there, like $1.8 billion they're spending on a ring road at the moment. They just spent or are spending $1 billion on, there's army country up there, so every year they do joint training exercises with Singapore Army, plus every 3 years they do joint training with the US Army. And so they just spend $1 billion on renovating and upgrading facilities there. So billions of dollars being spent in the area. And it's like everyone, we all need more people, like as far as tradies and people to build. So, but no, it's going great.
Mate, Queensland has some incredible coastline. It's definitely, like I like Rocky, and especially out around Duayne and that. It's bloody beautiful on that coastline up there. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you're far enough north, you don't get the stingers, do you?
No, you can swim in the beach
crocodiles.
There. No well, the crocs in the river, you don't swim in the river, but you can swim in the beach.
Well, mate, let's go back a bit. Like, you're a builder.
Yes.
I think your story is pretty interesting, but how you
it's a bit of a different one, not the average builder story. So yeah.
Well, let's get into it. Where did it start? We'll go back to right.
Go right back. Back in my day, the year was 1996. Believe it. Actually, I finished school at the end of year 10, and I remember my mother having conversation with friends saying, like, Jacob's my builder, he's going to be my builder. And this is when I was a kid. But at the end of year 10, I actually finished school and went and did a year's TAFE course, Certificate 1 in construction. So it was a 12-month course. They sort of did carpentry and bricklaying and different parts of all those aspects.
So where was this? Where were you living back then?
That was in Bundaberg.
Yeah.
So born in Mullaney, but grew up in Bundaberg. And so that was Bundaberg TAFE. And so I did that year course, and that took 6 months off an apprenticeship. At the start of the next year, so 1996, I got a carpentry apprenticeship with QBuild, who is, the Queensland government building arm. And so I got a carpentry apprenticeship with QBuild. I was 16 years old, and so I did 2 years of that, and then my father got a transfer. So he moved or took a job in Sydney, and so at that point I just turned 18. I decided to move with the family to Sydney, and so I'm 18. I was actually the first year, I think 1996 was the first year of what they call the competency-based system. So it was coming out of the, 4 years, that's an apprenticeship, moving into, what it is now to say, well, you could do it faster or slower depending on your competency. And so they gave us all, when we signed up, a logbook, and your job was to get all that signed off. And so actually, QBuild had actually, in those first 2 years, they'd sent me to Rockhampton to do TAFE. That's where I met my first wife, and that's how I ended up back in Rockhampton years later. So they'd sent me and I'd actually done all of my TAFE, so all of my practical was completed. So it was all signed off in the book, but this was the first year in the tradies, and you're a kid, you don't know what's going on, and so I think I had about 3 signatures in that book. And so, you're 18 and insecure, and you wonder what else the big wide world's got to offer. And so we moved to Sydney, and so I didn't pursue carpentry there. I worked in retail in Sydney. I lived there for 3.5 years. In that time, I got married. We ended up moving back to Rockhampton. And
so you got married young, mate?
I did, yeah. I was married at 20. Married at 20. My first child just before 23. So I'm a granddad now. I've got 4 kids and 3 grandkids. Just had
Holy dooly, mate.
Yeah. So look, this is what clean living and good genes does. Something like that.
Well, at least I think that's awesome, mate, because you're young enough, you're going to be able to enjoy it.
That's it. Yeah. So I'm 45 now, 46 this year, and although. So I had 2 older girls, and they're 23 and 21, and so my eldest is married with kids. And then we had a big break, and I actually lost my first wife to cancer, and so I had remarried, and then so I got a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old now. So we've gone, my second daughter just finished year 12, and then the next year my son started kindy, so right back through again. So,
Jeez, mate, you've been through a bit. Sorry to hear about your first wife.
Yeah, look, it's life, and life will throw at you whatever it will. I always say it's like, to me, if life had a job description, if this was the job description of life, it seems to me that life's job description is to make you hard. It will do everything it can to make you hard of heart. Our job description is to stay soft. I've got to stay soft. I'll be forgiving, gracious, and how do I not come into that temptation that life will throw at me to say, be hard. And so life...
That's a good analogy.
Yeah, none of us are exempt. We've all got something. It will do whatever it can in, financial health or relationships or whatever else.
So do you live your life along those sayings, like life is hard?
It is.
Yeah. Well, it is. That's the truth. It is hard.
I said I got married in 2000, I was first married at 20. And that year, you've seen the movie 4 Weddings and a Funeral. For my family, 2000 was 2 weddings and a funeral. I got married, and then you think married at 20 was young. My little sister got married 2 weeks after us. She was 18. And so we had 2 weddings at the start of the year. And then at the end of the year, my sister, who was her 23rd birthday, she fell off a cliff on her birthday. And died. So I remember that phone call. I was just coming out of band practice, locking up, and just leaving with the guys, and Dad called and said, there's been an accident, car is dead. And, you feel just your body drain.
Holy shit, mate.
So she was 23, and she was a wild, and we always say she packed 10 lives into that one. And but she loved we're living in Sydney. She loved the Blue Mountains. She decided to go climbing up there, just bushwalking for the day, and took a trip off the path, and decided I'm gonna, and didn't come home, and that's life, and so I've known sorrow. We all have, like I said, no one's exempt from that. But I've known comfort, and I've known, I've known the support of friends and family, and that too. So, we all get that.
Yeah, mate, that just tells me so much about your character, and I wouldn't have picked it. Like, you and I have caught up a few times. Last year when I was on that charity rally, we called in, we had dinner with you.
That was on your way up to the charity rally. This one, I'm here at your place.
Yeah, we just got home.
You just got home.
But, I definitely wouldn't have picked that you've been through all that.
Yeah,
I guess it's what's made you who you are.
It does, yeah.
Very resilient.
And that's why I say, life will throw whatever it can at you. But you just got to say, no, I'm not going to come into that, because people are still good at the heart of it. Yes, there's people who will hurt you. All sorts of things will happen, but at the core, you've got to be gracious. You've got to be forgiving. You've got to keep walking that path. You can't give up on it.
Yeah.
Because life sucks, and in the end you die. But I want to walk And no, at the end of the day, like some people, their greatest fear is public speaking. To me, happy, not a worry. My biggest fear
Which
is
I wouldn't have picked. I actually would have picked you as a very, corner of the room guy, not putting yourself out there.
I'm very much an introvert. Like,
Until you walked in before and started screaming, hot pies!
I've got to warm up.
What was it? Hot pies and...
Hot pies and cold drinks. So
tell, where did that come from? That's coming up, is it? That was part of being in Sydney, was it? The hot pies?
Yeah, no, that was later on. Okay, yeah. So we're telling the story how I become a builder. So I moved to Sydney, and that happened when we were there. Later on, after being married for a year, my wife's family, they were all in Rockhampton, and so she was missing family, so we moved back up there. Said goodbye to Sydney. I said to my mates, I said, if I'm not back in 2 years, come get me. Well, no one came, so I'm still living in Rockhampton. No, honestly, I wouldn't go back to Sydney. I love regional life. So moved there, and I worked for the bank for 9 months. I sold health insurance, and I was young, and then ended up getting into real estate, selling real estate. 24, I started selling real estate. I sold for 6.5 years, commission only real estate, and that will, that proves you're alive. No backing up. It's just you had to sell if you want to survive. And so, we had good years. I started in 2004, and, Rocky was booming then. We had some great booms. 2007, I'm a slow start. And so after 3 years, I was finally starting to get the hang of this. Hot pies actually had a voice that people could understand and not mumbling all the time. And so, it's 2007, Rocky real estate was going fantastic. And so I went to Christmas in 2007 going, that's it, I finally did it. This is the year I'm going to make, 6 figures. I'm on my way to 100 grand. And so that was Christmas 2007. I came back in 2008. Right, who's ready to buy a property? And it was like, somebody? It was like crickets. Like it just, 2008, they turned that finances off and everyone felt it. And I went through a period, I didn't sell going commission only real estate. I didn't sell something for 6 months in one portion of that. And but I kept pushing, and until 2010. And in 2010, middle of 2010, I was like, what am I doing? Why am I still doing this? And I'm a stubborn man, obviously. And that's how, I think that's why you're good at business, right? Is that just keep going, keep going.
Driving.
And so 2010, I thought, why am I doing it? Why am I still trying to do this? Like, it's not working. Why am I still here? And I thought about it, and I thought, why did I go into real estate in the first place? Because, 99, 2000, around then, my family was introduced to Rich Dad, Poor Dad books and Cash Flow Quadrant. I'd read those books, got into Robert Kiyosaki and investing. And so I thought about it. I thought, actually, the reason I got into real estate was to learn about how to invest in real estate. And I thought about it, I thought one of the first lessons that I actually learned when I became a real estate agent was you don't need to be a real estate agent to invest in real estate. In fact, probably better to not be, because the banks don't like commission-only salespeople. Yeah. If you've got a job with a wage, they actually will fund you better. So I realised, okay, so I got into real estate to learn about real estate investing. I think this last 6.5 years has taught me that.
Yeah.
So I felt free, okay, I don't have to be a real estate agent. I'll let that go. And when I made that decision, a friend of mine, he had a electrical contracting business, and we'd spoken previously, and I went away and I'd come back. It was a Monday morning. I'd made that decision on the weekend, and lo and behold, I get this call from my mate on Monday saying, "Hey, he had an electrical contracting business, and 2010, obviously all the solar grants and stuff, so." Solar power systems were all going. So he'd started a solar power business selling sales in PV systems and hot water systems. And he called me Monday and said, hey, my salesman's just given notice 2 weeks. would you like to come over and have a meeting? Would you be interested? So I sat down with him, and I just made that decision. He made the call. So I went over and worked for him selling solar power systems. And so I did that for a couple of years, and so I was a very autonomous. Like, he had electrical contracting business. He was busy running that. His partner was sort of started the PV, and so she did the administration and I did the sales. And I was faithful to any business I worked for. You give it your best, you do everything for it, you treat it like your own. And so I was a very autonomous salesman. I'd come and go as I pleased, 'cause they knew that I was doing the best by them. And so I was just this one-man band just out there selling solar. And next thing, one day I walked in and they sat me down and they said, "What do you think?" I said, "What do you think about what?" He said, "On the desk here, there's a new organisational chart, and Jacob is the operations manager of the electrical contracting business." I said, "Well, that sounds like fun." It was a promotion and more pay, so I did it. And so I went from this one-man, very autonomous salesman to running, 10 or 12 electricians, labourers, apprentices, and my job was just to keep them moving and always have something to do. And so so all of a sudden was just right in the midst of it.
Like, up until this point, have you had any training in sales or marketing, or just learning on the fly?
You keep learning on the fly. I learn, and obviously, like, personal development, all that sort of stuff in the real estate, you had all that, and so you're learning as you go. And I was investing in that, and Jim Rohn and John Maxwell and
Jim Rohn's unreal.
I love, like, these are the classics, like, and there's some great stuff. And so you'd hear that, and the real estate salesmen's, like, that was back when McGrath, John McGrath had just this little office, and he was doing a real estate training and stuff like this, send the CDs to salesmen all over Australia. This is back in the olden days, right? Yeah. And so you're doing all this.
We're calling it the olden days because they had CDs. Jesus.
That's it. Oh, mate, times have changed. I love that joke on the Men in Black. I'm going to have to buy the White Album again.
I got boxes of CDs, mate, and the only time I can play them is when I come down the shed here and crack them on the old CD player.
The CD player.
Don't even have a CD player in my car anymore.
No, I bought a new ute. There's not one in there. I was like, oh. And so, I've got this program from tapes. Peter Daniels, he's from South Australia, and he was a millionaire, and then he sold a business, and he created this program to go all of Australia and talk and then sell this program, and it was on tapes, and I listened to those tapes like, they're in my head. You can hear them. I listened to them so many times. Still got the tape from that, and I want to convert these to digital so I can still listen to it. Like, it was about the dream and the vision and perseverance and all these sort of things there. So all of that, that was all part of development, and so that's all. I mean, I remember my father gave me. As a teenager, Zig Ziglar book, see at the top, youth edition, sort of thing. So it's, go Zig. Yeah. So all of that's just life you learn, and life compounds. And so what you do in a little step today, you keep going and you keep going, and life compounds. And here you are. I was just talking to a young fellow on my team yesterday and saying, just like, he's 21. He started with us as a school-based apprentice at 15, so he's done his time. He's, qualified chippy. He's just looking at buying his first home. Like, mate, you don't have to rush it. Like, you're doing good. You're taking the steps. As long as you stay faithful in taking that next step, life compounds, and you're sitting really good. And it's easy to look at your father. Like, every generation looks at your father and thinks, but there's so much, young people on the Reddits and stuff like that. The older generation hogging all the property, and how are we going to own it? It's just faithful in the little things. It's easy to look at people who are 50 and 60 years old and say, well, why have they got a home? And
our parents would have thought the same things when they bought their home, mate, that we're never going to afford it. It's too expensive.
I saw a news article from the 1960s, like, literally, how are our kids going to afford homes? Like, they've been saying the same thing in the media.
Yeah.
In fact, a couple of years ago, I stayed at this little, when my daughter was married, she lived in Caboolture for a while. And look, this is just to prove, like, I mean, when she got married and her husband had an apprenticeship, he was working for a mob working on the rail lines as an apprentice electrician. And literally, they lived in a duplex in Caboolture, lived modestly. He was on apprentice's wages. She got pregnant, had their first child. He kept working. She was at home, and they kept saving for, all through his apprenticeship. He finished his time. He worked another year for him, and in the last year they moved back to Rockhampton and bought their first home. 22, 23.
Yeah.
And it proves you can do it.
Anyone can do it, mate. It's just people have too high expectations.
But when I went down to Caboolture to meet our first granddaughter, and we stayed in this little Airbnb, it was a 1950s cottage, and so the owner, I would assume she might have inherited it from mum or something, decided give it a little bit of a touch up, but kept it of vintage and Airbnb it. And we went down there, and obviously they must have pulled up some lino or something, because they had these old newspaper in a glass frame in the back of the house with all these newspaper clippings from 1956 or something, whenever it was. And I looked at it, and I was looking at all the articles, and like every one of those articles was like, there was, and this was a couple of years ago, there was talk about they didn't want to raise the price of milk, more than $1 a litre, and and there was this article from 1956 talking about the price of milk, and at that time, there was blowing up in the Middle East. Israel looked like they were going to go to war again, and here it is in 1956, this article about Israel's going to war again. Yeah. And the NDIS is out there, and they had this article, and not to be derogative, but this was the headline of the article, was like, college for subbies, for special education college sort of thing. So the NDIS scheme was still there in 1996. Like, there's nothing new under the sun. We're just recycling.
Everything just gets recycled, and it's all part of the agenda, mate. They got to keep the cycle going.
That's it. Yeah. Hey, I listened to you. You suggested this book, The Creature from Jekyll Island, and you just and so after
I'm gonna have to get commission from that book. Everyone's getting on board with it.
It's 24-hour listen.
It's a big one.
On audio books. I'm halfway through it.
I've banged on about it a lot, mate. It really changed my view on money and value. Yeah. And I definitely think since reading it and understanding the value of money better, my wealth has exceeded, because I'd treat it very differently.
Yeah. No, if it wasn't so grim, the tale it's actually telling, like, it's actually the most entertainingly read, like, as far as the way you read it.
It's just a very long, drawn-out book.
Yeah. But you can see all the path he goes through, but yeah.
But all right, get us back to how you become a builder.
So anyway, I was running, all of a sudden found myself running this electrical contracting business. And I'd done that for a year, and then my first wife got sick. And so from May was like not really 100% going to the doctor to find out what's wrong, to buried in the ground in September.
Holy
4 months, that was it. Bang, bang, bang. And so in that time was, trip to Brisbane and come home and start chemotherapy, and in hospital, out of hospital, and I was managing this man's business, you know what I mean? And so every time something happened, he was fantastic. I mean, step right back into that seat and he'd take over and he'd keep running for it. And then I'd come back, okay, she's all right, she's home again. And so I get in and start running again and run the business. Next thing, she's back in hospital. Well, he'd just take over and just let me go and be there. And after this time, it ended up, the last time she was in hospital, we jointly said, like, he knew, I knew, like, I couldn't, it just wasn't working. So I knew I had to be there with her. So we parted ways, and he was great about it. And I understood the position. We both agreed, like, he just had to do what he did. But he was always like, as soon as you've got something, there's a position here. I don't know what it'll be, but there'll be something for you. But anyway, so my wife passed away from cancer, and so suddenly I was a solo dad, two girls, 8 and 10, and
Jeez, mate, that's
And
tough.
so I've been there, been the solo dad, and so done that. And so so I just went after that. My dad actually is a pastor, and he was running a church. He said, "Why don't you come work for me?" Called me the church manager. I did the administration and stuff, the back end there, and just work school hours. So I'd take the girls to school, drop them off. I'd go do administration stuff there, and then pick them up from school, and then we'd do there. So it worked well. I did school hours, and so life kept going. But I, it's a lonely life, and so I found a new wife, and married Marie, and she come in and loved those girls and did everything she could, but she was never married and no kids, and so it was always part of the agreement that she always wanted children of her own. And so I'd been working for Dad in that position, and after we got married, as I said, I continued working school hours, and then at the end of the year, it was like, I knew the position just wasn't going where it wanted to be, and I knew it wasn't going to last, and I think it's not right. And so I was back and forth in my head. What am I going to do? Where do I want to, what is it, and what am I going to do? And I had a conversation with a mate. Like, you've started 2 apprenticeships, because when I was doing the electrical contracting, the boss had said, "You're going to be managing electricians. I'd like you to have your trade." So as well as being the manager, I actually had signed up as an apprentice as well, and so I was apprentice and the manager, with the intention of over time you'd get your trade and do that. Obviously that didn't work out. So when my wife had passed away and I quit that job, also quit that apprenticeship. And so he's like, "You've started 2 trades, you haven't finished anything. You've got to finish something, right?" And so I'm thinking about life and what am I going to do? And so I was working for my dad, and we used to have this meeting Wednesday mornings. We'd have a, catch up, what's going on, all whatever matters of business. And so this had been going on in my head, and I hadn't made a decision, and I could see, like, I've got to do something. So anyway, I went to that meeting. I said, "Dad, look, it's not going to work. I'm going to move on. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to finish up Friday. Don't worry about me. I'm going to be okay." And I knew I had to do that for myself, because if I didn't cut that tie, it would just keep dragging out, and the position it wasn't the best thing for anyone. And so I made a decision. Oh, well, I'm going to finish this job Friday. Don't worry, I'll find something. If I've got a deadline, I'll make a decision. And so between then and Friday, or next Monday at least, when I started as a handyman. I decided, with a wife and 2 children, going back and doing an apprenticeship was going to be probably not financially viable. So I'd come up with this plan. I was going to be a handyman. I could run a business for myself, charge, a reasonable rate doing that. And I was going to RPL, any sort of carpentry jobs. And I did that the right thing. I started Monday morning, was like, right, I'm a handyman now. This is my job. And no jobs, no clients, nothing. But this is what I'm going to do. What I did have was a house that I had a tenant in, and the tenant had overstayed a welcome, not paid rent for 3 months, and made a mess of the house. And so I had something to do, right? I had work. And so I decided, right, I put myself out there and called a couple of real estates and things like that. And in the meantime, I was just going to start working on cleaning up my house.
Yeah.
And so I did that, and I started, talked to real estate. My dad had a friend who was a builder, and he just finished renovating this house, but it needed painting. So for $3,300, I painted this house. That's amazing. And I was right, like in that handyman, I had plenty of opportunities as it grew to do jobs over $3,300. I always said, no, it's not right. I'm not licensed. It's fine. So I started out with these tiny little jobs, and that was the biggest job I had. Like mostly after that, I had real estate jobs, $200 and $300 and $500. And it was hand to mouth, and it's like, well, they're knocking on the real estate. Please, when am I going to get paid for that $300 job?
Yeah.
And so, but you just went and you did it, and then I had another mate he said, oh look, I had a quote. They had this greenhouse in the backyard, and it was built like a bomb shelter. Like the frame was this beautiful hardwood timber, and the concrete nib wall that was buried in the ground underneath, like Took a whole day for the dingo to pull out the excavator. It was just built for years and years. But he said, I'd had this quote to have it taken down. He says, I was going to pay them this price. I'll just pay you to do it. You start a business, I'll give it to you. So, one by one, these jobs happened. And so you start growing a business that way. And eventually, you get busy. And so I had my first father-in-law. I said, I need this, just every couple of days I need just 2-hand jobs, you know what I mean? You're building a handrail, and so it's helpful to have someone at the top while you're nailing it. So he started working for me just sporadically, helping out on 2-man jobs and things like that. And so eventually then he come and I ended up sending him to jobs. And he went, was working for me and bits and pieces. And so you start growing this little business, right? Yeah. And in the meantime, anything that was carpentry based, I'd take photos of it and I set up, Jacob's Carpentry RPL at Gmail or whatever it was, and you'd take photos and you'd send it to there and you keep records of all the things that were relevant. And like I said, I knew back in 1996 I'd done all the practical, all the tech side of it there. It was, but I thought, well, I didn't really know the pathway of what was required, but I just thought, just start and do something you can. I've still got a star picket in my office, and I built this business on do what you can with what you got. I've got a star picket. One of the first jobs I got from a real estate was at the start of 2015, which was when I started the business. Cyclone had come through Rocky, and there was this real estate had sent me this job for this fence on the house. Had obviously a lot of water, a lot of wind, and the clay soil. The fences had blown over, so it all dried out and the fences had all stayed like this. And so they sent me, can you quote on straightening up the fences? And so I'd give them a price. And then it was Friday morning, I remember, and I got this email through on the phone. Oh, your quote's been approved from the real estate. Oh, you beauty. So here I was, and I was working on my house, fixing it up, and I got this through maybe 9 o'clock Friday morning. I said, right, here we go. I'm going to go do this job. I drop everything here, go out there, and I've got, nothing. And, the idea was to dig around one side of the post holes, push it up, and concrete in the other side to straighten this fence up. And so I had a crowbar, and I taped masking tape around it and just was digging this thing out just to try and dig it out. And my good old father, he, what you up to? And he said, he bought me some gloves from Bunny Sport. He comes out with some gloves. Here, Jacob, have some gloves, right? Be smart. And so that was my crowbar. I didn't have a crowbar, but I had
your star picket.
A star picket.
The star picket was your crowbar.
The star picket was my crowbar. I just wrap, duct tape around it just to try and help my hands and just went and do what I can. And I've still got that star picket in my office because it's just a reminder.
That's a motivator if I've ever heard one.
Just do what you can with what you've got. You don't have to have everything, but you can do something now. And like I said, I was a handyman doing $300 jobs, but I could do something. Yeah. I didn't know the full pathway, but I just know that I wanted to somehow finish my carpentry apprenticeship. And so I did that for a few years and, had someone working for me and tried to hire another guy too. And we're just doing all sorts of bits and pieces, what you could. And like I said, there was opportunities to do bigger jobs there, but I always said, no, I can't do over 3,000. That's the rules. And so I kept to that and did the right thing.
Yeah.
But you can do all sorts of jobs for that sort of price. And again, this was 10 years ago, so I was charging $50 or $60, an hour. So it's not rates we're getting now. So you could build a set of staircases. You could build a staircase for that and do all this things. And it was a fair price at the time. You can't build a staircase for $3,000 now, but at the time you could. Yeah. And so I kept photos and all that. And then I started... After a couple of years, I started calling around training organisations and just started calling, hey, I want an RPL, what have I got to do? And they, no, you got to work for it. You got to do some work framing for a builder and stuff like that if you want to get signed off, And so I made a few calls and, okay, the time's not right. And then probably another year later, I started making phone calls again. Well, anyway, I just called this bloke and he says, mate, and I remember talking to you, which I don't think he did, but I remember talking to you. He says, no, if you want to RPL on the carpentry, we can do that. No worries. He says, in fact, we've got a trainer in Mackay tomorrow night, right? This was Wednesday, I think just Wednesday through the day. He says, tomorrow night we've actually got a trainer in Mackay. If you can get Mackay, and they'd hide out the Leagues Club up there or something like that, he's actually doing a course. If you can get up there and see him, you get there before the training, and he'll run through with a bit of RPL stuff, and we can go through some paperwork. He said, if you sign all this paperwork, he says, we can take care of that. No worries. $3,000 or whatever it was for the...
Yeah.
He says, and, by the way, we've just got some government funding, right? For an extra $8, you could actually get your Cert 4 in construction as well. I'm like, that sounds interesting. Sign me up. Anyway, I thought, well, look, it's government funded. It's Cert 4, beautiful. I get up there. So next day, I'm in the van, drive to Mackay, and they'd set it up. Anyway, it turns out these guys were, let's be honest, Dodge. They were Dodge. They were a RTO, registered training organisation, who was all about the money, honey.
Yeah.
And they would do whatever. So they would get, your CSQ, whatever funding to do courses. And literally what they had done in this, like, someone's up in Mackay tomorrow night. They had literally sent a trainer, aka salesman, to Mackay and Proserpine. He'd spent a week or two beforehand just driving around all the estates and all the job sites. He must have just gone to every job site. Hey, guys, we've got this, government funding for $8. You can get a Cert 4 in. And so he must have spent a week or two driving around selling that thing. And if you can be at Mackay, Leagues Club on Thursday night, we'll get you, right? And literally, I was sitting out the front and you could hear blokes talking, waiting for it. Oh, can't they just sign us off? And all the deal was you had to sit in one classroom and he was going to talk about contracts. And if you sat there and did that, we'll get you Cert 4, right? And there's blokes outside who'd driven from Proserpine saying, can't they just sign me off? I just want to drive home. What I've got to be here and sit in the classroom for 40 or 2 hours or an hour and a half, whatever it was. Can't you just give it to me? I mean, that was Dodge. And I'm thinking and that's not what I signed up for. I knew that I had the capacity and the competency to be a carpenter. And that's what I'd gone there for. And I'd paid for a carpentry, qualification. And I knew, I always joke, around Rocky, there's a lot of carpenters, but around Brisbane and all over Australia, there's a whole heap of carpenters. If you can't fix it with a nail gun, don't know how to fix it.
Right? Yeah, 100%, mate.
And I could build a set of staircases, hardwood, route it out and do all of that sort of thing there. So I'd done a lot of fine sort of thing. And so I knew that I could call myself a carpenter. I didn't have the paperwork, but I knew I had the capacity, the capability to do it.
I don't think it matters. Everyone learns very differently, mate. I don't think whether it's a tradesman, a doctor, a lawyer, whoever, there's just people that are good at what they love doing.
That's it.
There's plenty of people that have gone through the system correctly and
still don't know.
Fucking don't know which end of the hammer to hold or how to swing it.
They don't have a clue. Like I said, unless you can fix it, unless you can do it with a nail gun, I wouldn't have a clue. And so I knew that, and so I went there and sat down in that thing. Like I said, I sat down with the trainer beforehand. We went through a bit of RPL stuff and then sat in on the course for the Cert 4. And I went home. I filled out all the stuff for the carpentry and I'd filled that out and, drove home that night, got home midnight, went to bed, got up the next day and went to work. And he'd give me some paperwork. Oh, if you can get a builder to sign this off, right, we'll send you a Cert 4. And I was like, I don't know that. I can't say that I've earned that. I can't say I know the things. And I had a builder mate and I didn't want to approach him and I didn't even want to ask because I didn't think it was right. And it wasn't. And so I didn't fill out that paperwork. Did all the stuff for the Cert 3s for my carpentry. I'd sent that off to him. Anyway, send it off and you keep doing life. Anyway, a month or so later, 2 later, whatever it was, envelope comes in the mail. Open it up. Here's your Cert 3 in carpentry, right?
And you hadn't signed anything.
No, I had for the Cert 3. My Cert 3, which is the carpentry, that's what your carpentry trade is, a Certificate 3 in construction.
Yeah.
I had signed all the paperwork for the Cert 3.
Yeah.
So I pulled that out. Next, what's this behind it? Oh, Cert 4. They sent me the Cert 4, dated the very day after they dated the Cert 3. I'm like, I did not sign any paperwork on that. I'm like, well, what do you do with that? I took the Cert 3, I went to QBCC, I registered and did everything proper to get myself a carpentry license. I put the Cert 4 back, put it in my cupboard and left it there. I didn't, I just went, I'll come for a Cert 3. I wanted a carpentry qualification. I knew I was competent to do that. And so I took that, got my QBCC license, and here we go. I can call myself a carpenter, start doing bigger jobs over the 3,300 and keep growing the business a bit more. So the Cert 4 I just put in the cupboard and kept growing the business. And so, hired guys and so what started out in $200 and $300 and $400 jobs was now $200 and $300 and $5,000 jobs and, maybe a $10,000 job here and there. And so the jobs just got a little bit more and a little bit more. And so I just was running the carpentry business but I had that vision that I wanted to be a builder and I wanted to get there. And so after a few years, it was like I knew that was sitting in the cupboard and I knew I hadn't done the course, but also know that if I approached a training organisation, it shows that you've done the course. I couldn't even pay someone again to go do that course. They wouldn't let me do the training because you've already done it, Mr. Bain. Sorry. So that's the dirtiest part about that RTO and I think they got shut down, is like they didn't just rip off the government by just handing out free money.
Oh, there's plenty of it.
And just taking that all for themselves. Like, they didn't train anyone. But they ripped me off because they didn't train me. They got paid to train me and they didn't do it.
Yeah.
And so here I am. I want that. I want to know what that course was supposed to teach me, and they didn't teach it to me. And I can't just go and say, I thought about, do I just go approach the master builders and say, hey, I know you run this course. Can I just sit in the back corner and just listen? I won't answer any questions. I know you can't give me the qualification. Can I just sit in the back corner and listen to what you're saying? Like, I thought about that. But I just kept going. And so the time came and I wanted to do it. And I thought, well, I stepped out. I found, I was introduced, a friend of mine he was a plumber, but he worked for a local builder. And John, I really appreciate. John, 40 years building in CQ area. He'd had a franchise and, a lot of experience, run business. And so I did introduced to him and he was, he'd done well. And then after 2008, when, things had gone sour, he was in a position where at like 55 or something like that, he was able to shut down that business and retire sort of thing. And 10 years later, he's just doing some little project for himself and a man's got to do something with himself. You can't do nothing. And so he had these little projects. And so he didn't see it as competition or anything like that. And he sort of, sized me up and I sort of talked to him, met him a few times and said, this is what I want you to do. I'm looking for a licensee. And it was like, to get your builder's license, you've got to work, or as a carpenter or a bricklayer, you've got to work under someone else's license for 2 years as a supervisor. And so it was easy enough to get a supervisor's license from the QBCC, but you had to work under someone else. And in the meantime, my carpentry business is thriving. It's there. I've got guys working for me. Do you shut that down and go and work for someone else? Well, no. So we founded, Bain Builders Proprietary Limited, and I hired John as a nominee. And so I worked under him and that way I kept my carpentry business going.
It's always a solution, eh? Like, I think it's good that you're going into all this detail because there's so many people out there that would be wondering how they become a builder or get to a builder and they're probably getting hurdles put in front of them. Like, you've just kept pushing and pushing and made it happen.
You just got to go, have a go. Like, I know there's a way. Just keep going. I've got a vision. I can do this. And that's what I appreciate about being in Elevate is like you see guys who've done it, like you're in a community and you see, well, if he can do it, then surely there's a way that I can do it too, right? You know? And so like John had sized me up and he looked at me and said, you're running a business. Like he knew, and this is, at the end of the day, I knew I didn't have, well, I had the piece of paper, but I didn't have all that, all the school training. But I knew that if I wanted to be a builder, it was a game of continual learning. I couldn't sit in a class this year and say, well, I've got a builder's ticket. I don't need to learn anything more. I'm fine. No, I knew to be a builder that code keeps changing. The rules keep changing. Technology, we keep learning. And so if I want to be a builder, I've got to keep learning every year. You don't get away from that. And so one piece of paper that I might have got 5, 10, 20 years ago is worthless today if I don't keep learning. Yeah. And so with that, that's what sort of empowered me to say, look, even though they didn't do the job they were supposed to do, and even got a piece of paper that I didn't deserve, I know that I've got to keep learning. And so, like, that was a couple of years ago. Whatever they taught me in that course, or they should have, probably there's some things that need to be upgraded on that today anyway. Yeah. And I know there's builders who's got a license 25 years ago and
haven't done a thing since.
They haven't done any development on that since then. And so that's, I think John looked at me, he said, you've got a business. You've got the mindset that understands running a business. The fact that I could meet with him in the middle of the day and sit down with him for an hour and ask him questions and talk to him, he understands. If you could build a business to that point, okay, you understand. It's not just can you put the nail there. Yeah. It's do you have the mindset to understand running and the numbers and the
So did he teach you all the structural stuff, foundation slabs?
Yeah, so he's fantastic in all of that there. In like, you know, I could ask him any question. And like I said, he was doing a project for himself. So he was, doing a little townhouse development. So my guys were actually working on that job. Like he hired us as labour for that. So we're in there and I could ask him any question, anything that we did. The actual first project that we did as Bain Builders was actually raise my house. I got a double gable, like Queenslander style, and so I said, well, I'm going to do it for myself, right? I can do it for me. I'll prove to myself that I can do it, and then I've got the proof to take to the world to say, this is what I can do. Would you like me to do the same for you? And so John would come and we'd walk around site and he'd ask, what are you going to do there? Or tell me how you going to weatherproof there? You know, it's all right where that existing deck is and you've got a sliding glass door above that, and now you're going to have wall underneath there that you don't want. How are we going to fix that problem and all this sort of thing? So he, you know, and at any time I could call him and ask the question and nothing was, that's what I say. I am really in debt with him. I appreciate him all the time.
That's awesome.
Because without that, I couldn't, you know, I wouldn't have had it. And I still, you know, can call him and say, what's going on? And
so where did Kingfisher Homes start?
Well, at the time I'd registered Bain Builders Proprietary Limited, but I wanted something that was not just me. My point in starting business was not just to create the Jacob machine, but I want to create something that's beyond me. I want a place where people can come to work, be encouraged, be developed, you know, not not held under the thumb, but that we can, you know, grow and learn together and have a benefit in that and, you know, and find our place in the world. And so I didn't want just Bain. I wanted something beyond that. And so Kingfisher Homes, I don't even know, to be honest, where it sort of come from. I do remember when I'd done my, when I got my contractor's license as a carpenter, you had to do a course in management, like a 2 or 3 day course Master Builders put on. And a Master Builders trainer was like, oh, you know, there's not enough like Red Dog or Cattle Dog Homes or something like that. You know, why does everyone want Bain Constructions and Pearce Constructions and all that sort of, you know, like he was like, you know, come on boys, think outside the box a little. Yeah. And so maybe it was a bit of a throwback to that where I didn't want Red Dog Constructions or something like that, but it was just something like there. And I like, you know, the Kingfisher is small and fleet and beautiful. And so maybe all these things combined. And And so I'd registered the name Kingfisher Homes with the intention that when we get to the new home sort of side of things, we can use that as a name. And so that was the development. And so I actually hired John for, well, technically I only had to do it for 2 years, but I hired for 2.5 years. I worked under his license, and then time came to, and I'd kept my two businesses separated, whereas I kept, Rockhampton Carpentry as a separate entity, and just started Bain Builders, which just worked under, because John was the licensee, and I didn't want anything, not that I thought there'd be anything, but just in case there was any trouble, I wanted that separated from this here, just as in respect to him. And he didn't ask for that, but that's just the way I wanted to set it up. So after I got my builder's license for myself, I, brought all the guys into the Bain Builders Proprietary Limited, and now we operate under that there. But
it's awesome, mate.
Yeah, that's where it comes. So like this November will be 10 years since I started out as a one-man handyman. Through the few hand tools I had in the back of the family car, Ford Territory, and said, I'm going to be a handyman. Here we go. And last year we built $960,000 home. And so I don't take that lightly.
So that's your dearest contract to date?
That's our biggest to date, yeah.
Yeah. And you're, so what made you, so how long were you building for yourself before you decided to come along to Elevate?
Well, through the course of my business career, I'd had, different business coaches and stuff like that. I knew the importance. I had the realisation many years ago is there's only two ways that you can learn. One is you go out and make mistakes and you hope you learn from them. The trouble with going out and making mistakes and learning from there is what you learn from making mistakes is how not to do it. And you don't necessarily learn how to do it. You might try a different way, but then that might be a mistake too. And another one. And so eventually you might get there. But so that's one way to learn, is go out and make mistakes and learn from that. The other one is you need someone to teach you. The trouble with having someone teach you is you don't know what you don't know, and therefore you don't know what you need to learn. And so what you need if you want to be taught from someone is someone who's been there and done it. And I'd had different business coaches, in general coaches, not necessarily construction coaches, that I'd been under a different program, and that was good. And that I wouldn't be here, my business wouldn't be here, like if it wasn't for that. As I said, I'm an introvert, and one of my biggest challenges that even sometimes still plagues me is just to go back and just be that one-man band and just like blow it all. And I could do it perfect, and I could, have the sweetest jobs, and I know I'd never want for work, and I'd look after my family fine, but I want something bigger than just me.
And that's fine.
I think the biggest thing for tradies is just knowing what you're here for. Like, what is your goal? What do you want? Like, it's not, everyone doesn't have to have a 50-person business. Like, if you are a one-man band, then do that, and do that well. If you have, you and a couple of apprentices, then that's okay. You don't have to have 10 staff. That's all right. Just
success
do
is
you.
very different to everyone. No.
Do you and do it well. That's okay. Like, that can, having a $50 million business for you might not be success. It might just blow you apart. Yeah, and that's all right.
The do it well part's really important, but because a lot of people aren't doing it well at one-man band or 10 million or 15 million. If you're not, and reality is, if you're not doing it well at one-man band, it's not going to get any better when you got 10.
It doesn't. No.
But everyone, that should be their minimum goal, is whatever they're doing, do it to the best of their ability.
That's it. And that's what I always did. Like, I am a perfectionist at heart sort of thing there. And, I remember like building a staircase and something went wrong. Like, the post got cut. It was a bit short. And you think, I could, just check that out and put a bit on top and glue it up and bolt, and it'll be fine. And, you work for another half a day and it just plagued me. And no, pull it apart, do it proper. And, and you just do it proper. And then, like everything, I just want to know that we walk away saying we did the best. I'm proud to be part of that.
Yeah.
And if you do that. But anyway, coming back to business coaches, is like, there's only one way to learn. That someone's got to show you, and that someone better be someone who's been there and done it
Yeah,
themselves.
every single person, doesn't matter what level you're at, I firmly believe now should be learning from someone that is where they want to be.
Yeah.
Like it's the only way, like at every level. And that's with everything. That's with business, property investment, wealth, like everything. Like I feel like social media, like there's just so many people on there now that
Just like,
make it look like they're killing it, but behind the scenes they're probably living in a bloody 1-bedroom apartment in debt to the eyeballs. Like it's very easy now to look like
the
you're
Mustang,
doing well.
mate, look great.
But so where's Kingfisher Homes now, mate? Like you're kicking goals. You're just telling me before you've done 3 homes this year. You've just signed another one.
Signed another contract, and so now we I feel the traction. Like it takes time. Get yourself a name out there to be recognised. I think I feel quality in the leads that we're getting, that sort of thing there, where people are coming in and it's different questions they're asking and different sort of. So there's a bit of, and I like all the first number of houses that we built were all in like a cul-de-sac or a little out of the way street or something like that. It wasn't over in the new estate where everyone can see and Rocky's a little place and but nothing was sort of in the way, and so we built some beautiful homes, but they just weren't on a busy street where everyone can see your sign and see what you've done, And so how do you get that out there? And, we've kept going with marketing and just keep on being faithful with what we've got and keep doing that and finding ways to, to do what you do as well as you can. And just, again, life compounds. Just keep doing what you do and it compounds for the better or for the worse.
Yeah.
But life does compound. And
the one you were working on when we called in to see you last year up in Rocky, like that was a pretty challenging project, multiple split levels. And
3 levels. There was roof directions. There was about 9 different roof slopes in the design. I learned a lot in that.
Yeah, no, it's really good. Like to hear your full story and where you've come from, what you've been through, and how hard you've pushed to get to where you are. Like it's pretty inspiring.
Thank you.
Like, there's no excuses, is there? Like these people that make excuses about what they've got or where they want to be or the type of business they want to have or whatever it is. Like there is no excuses. There's always a solution. You've just got to keep pushing.
You have a go, and like I said, it's okay to start small. It's okay to start with what you've got, but I guarantee you've got something you can start with. Like I said, I had a few hand tools and the family car, and. Well, that's what I got, so start with that. I had a star picket, so I'll start with that, right?
I'm keen for you to send me this picture of that star picket when you get home. That's pretty inspiring, that story.
But you can do something. You've got something.
Yeah.
And it wasn't great, and but it was a start. And like I said, I've never it's actually kind of. It is vulnerable for me to say this, like to tell my story. Like I said, to say that publicly, like to get out there and say I found my builder's license in a cereal box, is something that's just like, well, I don't know. It's not the best way. I'm not saying this is the way to do it. I'm just saying this is how it worked out for me.
Yeah.
But I kept going.
But you've put in, from what I've seen and from what I know of you over the last, what do you mean with Elevate now? 2 years?
Yeah, 18 months. Start of 2024, I joined with Elevate.
Like you, there is definitely people out there that are just looking for the simplest, easiest way to get a license, and their work shows that they're unskilled, they're untrained, they don't know the codes. Like it stands out like dog's balls. But like I've seen your work, and you've obviously put in the training, you've got the knowledge to be able to turn out beautiful homes. So
it takes time.
Yeah, it takes time. There's lots of different types of people in this world, and you're not one that's taken advantage of the system. You've done the hard yards. You've learnt what you need to learn.
Yeah.
But so what's been some of the learnings? Like what was what made you, besides learning and looking up to me, like what made you come to Live Life Build?
Live Life Build. Well, like I said, after I'd had a general business coach, and I said, I actually joined another Australian business specifically construction. And I did that program for a while, a couple of years, and I thought, and again, it's what you put into it. And probably not that it's not a bad, it's probably not a terrible system. I just hadn't put the training and things that in there. And so I was looking for something else. And before I'd even joined that one, I was actually searching around, and there's another building coach, specifically building coach. I won't name any names, but literally when I was picking between this company or that one, on their website they had testimonials. ABC Constructions and, GYG Constructions and all this. And I literally searched, ABC Constructions, Google searched this. Builder goes broke. Right, okay, we'll try this one. GYG Constructions. GYG Construction goes under. And literally, these were the building, their testimonials on their website. And I searched, and I'm not talking it was one or two, there was a few. And I get to the point, right, okay, I'm not using them, right?
What the hell?
If I don't know why, but if they just teach them, okay, market,
turnover, build
put the
turnover.
ads out there, guys. Yeah, get your turnover up. And grow your business until it crashes because you burn yourself out. I don't know. I'm like, well, okay, I'm not going to use those ones. Okay, someone else. And so I ended up with another company. And then after that was, okay, they were all right. But I'd seen you on the socials and I thought, this guy's actually a builder. He's there actually doing it. And so that's what attracted me to it there. It was just because it's not just teaching you, and which is important, and which builders do need to know their numbers. They do need to know how to systemize. They do need to know how to market, and all these things. And like I said, my background, the reason I tell you all of those things is I did retail insurance, I did banking, I did real estate sales, and all of that there has come together, and all those bits and pieces, all that knowledge has come, and I use all those things now. It all helps me to run that business. It knows because I know people. I've learned, how to get on with the different people, how to look things up. And,
You've come a long way in the last 18 months, but you've
look,
had some pretty big wins.
Yeah. And I was just, again, it was just part of this thing and building, and it can be done. And being part of that community, and you can, as I said, you can see it's done. If he did it, then why can't I? Someone else has done it, so it's possible. Yeah. Right? Is it the best thing for me to do? I suppose that's what you've got to learn and say, is this the right thing for our business? But yeah, it's just putting in the training, getting involved. It is getting involved. You'd see it more than me. You see the people who actually get involved. They get on, get on there, do the Facebook post. You've got
to get involved, mate. That's the biggest. You've got to be consistent. You've got to get involved, but you've got to implement what you learn
and actually sit down and watch the stuff, because every day, every month that money is taken out. What are you going to do with it? You got to get there and watch those videos. And if you do,
it works.
It does.
I can't remember if it was you or not, but did you have you had a bit of a funny mindset, you were holding yourself back because you didn't think you were...
You said I was the mountain. I was saying I was getting up there. And what I meant by that was that you can, as you're building a business, there's a step by step by step. And if you keep putting that step upon step on step, you get critical mass. You push. It's like train on the track, you feel the wheels spinning, but soon enough, those tyres are going to grip, and then you actually get some traction and go. And I could feel, I was talking to people. I had some good customers. We were in design, home design and stuff like that. You could just see it, but I didn't have any contracts, or we had things that we were doing. Not that we weren't doing it, but I knew there was more, and you could see. We're working with these customers and the design on these homes and the pricing on it, it's getting close. And but that's just to keep pushing. And so many times, I said 10 years in business, the amount of times that I would have quit and said it's not, year after year, every end of the year is oh, why am I doing this? It's not profitable. If it's not profitable by next year, that's it. That's it. I'm shutting this thing down. End of next year. If it's not profitable next year, I said I'm a stubborn man, and I know it, and so does my wife.
But there was definitely some mindset stuff there, wasn't there? You were putting a lot of things in place, but you had some mindset things that were ultimately holding you back from achieving your goals.
You can definitely shut yourself down, and you, whether you realise it or not, can be falling your own opportunities. And there's definitely that there. And sometimes and again, sometimes that thing's well, do I know enough? And, I haven't done this for 20 years like all the other builders, and so am I really good enough? And
I think I know when we first met, you had some big issues around that, because we had some conversations, and you would say to me, I'm not good enough. Like I haven't been.
I haven't. Yeah,
like I think one of our
swinging
first
hammer for 20
conversations on the
years.
phone, like you were basically saying I shouldn't be doing what I'm doing because I haven't been on the tools for 10, 15 years. Like that's
But you can be a painter and be a builder. I've got a good mate who built like hundreds and hundreds of homes in Rockhampton, and he was a drafty.
Yeah.
But he built hundreds of homes. He never swung the hammer himself.
Yeah.
And even my mate John, who was a qualified carpenter and worked his way up, my friend who worked for him, who before he introduced me, he said, John built hundreds of homes, but he didn't swing the hammer. He didn't think. Now you've got to know, is he doing it right? Is that tie down proper? And that's the thing. When you take that leap from being a chippy or whatever your trade is to being a builder, being a chippy, you got to know your rules. You got to know how many nails to put in that strap, and the spacing on that plywood. All of a sudden, you have to know everybody's rules, everybody's rule books. You got to know them all, right? And that's why I knew, like, if I'm going to be a builder, I just got to keep learning. And that's why I do appreciate about Live Life Build is it's not just about how to run your business. We do talk about how to build well too, and so that's what I appreciate there.
But you took off once you broke that mindset and you broke through those barriers. You've the last 12 months you've had big success.
Yeah.
And it was good to see you set some goals too, and you were able to tick them off and achieve them, which is huge. Like So what's next for Kingfisher Homes? Like what's on the plans for the future?
My goal this year is I wanted 6 starts, 6 slabs on the ground. We've got 3 so far. I've just signed number 4, so I've got 2 more if I want to hit my goal for this year.
So that's 2025?
That's, this calendar year. Yeah. So I've got a couple more, and it's possible.
Definitely, mate. Definitely.
It's possible.
So what are you doing to make that happen?
Well, tomorrow when I get back to town, there's some people with pre-approval and they know the plan they want, and I'm going out to see their block of land. And so we keep marketing, keep putting ourselves out there, just practical things like the back end, like setting up in the CRM, like email trail, like writing emails, because I would get phone calls. Yeah, you have a good chat, no worries. Yeah, that'd be great. And I'm thinking, why am I spending money on marketing or anything else if I'm not even following these people through? At least like get some email and put them in a lineup to say, okay, we'll send you an email. At least you sort of might try and keep them warm, and things like that. So just putting ourselves out there. Talking, we've signed options on 2 blocks in probably Rocky's favourite estate. A big thing is land at the moment. And getting land is a big part for us.
Because you do a couple of your own developments as well, don't you?
Oh, look, we sold a house and land, at the start of this year. So I bought a block of land and went and developed that. And so it's sold. It's still under construction, but we've got a buyer for that. Yeah. And that's a whole nother conversation about funding on those things, which is a trick. But so now learning a trick of like we can sign an option with the development. We can come up with a plan, market that, sell it, and we don't have to fund it.
You agree on a certain time period.
That's right, yeah. And but I think the biggest thing a lot of our customers were is like the biggest question I think they want to answer in the first is like how much, like can I afford it? How much is it actually going to cost me? Can I afford to do what I want to do? And of course, everyone's budget's here and what they can afford. But can you build a house with that much money? Well, the answer is generally, if they come to me with 400, can you build a home for 400,000? Yes, you can. Is it the home you want? No, it's not. Is that big enough to fit in the estate's covenants? Probably not too. But in the general sense, most people, I just try to align it. Can you build a home? Is their budget reasonable? Is that a good starting point? Can we work with that? Yes, you can. Yeah. And like you've seen that one we did, which was a nice big one. But mostly I think Kingfisher Homes is just trying to find that happy medium between like the project builders and bang, bang, bang and get it out there, and not necessarily these big, beautiful custom homes.
So what's
find a happy medium in there.
Yeah.
At the moment, the 3 we've got on one's about 500, 600 and 700,000.
But they low set, high set,
Low set
Queenslanders?
brick, not brick, but low set slab on ground. They're actually all cladded like weatherboard style. Not that that's all we do, but that's just that these three turned out to be. So as I said, we did that split level. Would I do that again? Yes, I can. Again, as long as people got the budget. But generally, like value for money is, like I said, generally where we target is that that mid-range with trying to give someone a custom experience to be able to customise and make it their home, without just being a number for a project builder, without feeling you've got to build a $1 million, $2 million home to get that experience, and know that you can have something that's well crafted, like thought about. We're putting in the best efforts that we can inside that budget. Obviously, it's all inside of a budget, but you know that the guys are thinking about that. We are doing best practice as far as flashing and thinking about the paper we're putting on and all these sorts of things. There is a difference, even though that difference is not seen most of the time after it's been painted. There definitely is. And that's why being that handyman and starting at that, and that's why I said to the young fellows who work for me, like, being a handyman, doing this will make you a better builder. And that's what I like about my guys have done maintenance and that. Now we're just trying to push into just doing the new homes and not doing the maintenance. But the fact you guys have worked for me have done the maintenance, I say that makes you a better builder because you see what goes wrong. You go back in 5 or 10 or 15 years, you see if he had primed the end of that balustrade, we wouldn't be here replacing it. If he had to use some hardwood instead of pink pine, we wouldn't be here replacing this today. And so you see that that whole progression of where I've come from. So I've seen what goes wrong. So let's think about how we can do it a bit better.
Well, and that's where a lot of time needs to be spent, I think, doesn't it, with your team? Like, you've got to explain, like, they've got to know why they're doing what they're doing. Because if they don't, they don't understand why you're such a perfectionist and why you want something primed before it goes up against something else. Or
and that's
like ultimately that is a true sustainable home is a home that's not going to have to be being repaired bloody every 10, 12 years. Like doing things properly the first time, using the right materials, installing the materials the correct way. Like, that's a massive one.
Even just that, that's right. You can put the same. You could have two houses built of exactly the same materials, but how they're put together can make a big difference of how long that thing's going to last.
So, mate, like you personally, what do you get up to maintain yourself? Because everyone knows I bang on about if you're not right, nothing around you can be right.
To me, it's work and family and church. That's my life. Like I said, I go from 7 till 6 every day at work. So Monday to Friday, and so that's all work. After that, I love my family, and involved. I play guitar and sing with my church too Sunday mornings, so I love doing that, and that's my thing there. So again, good community around you, that sort of thing, and that's where, like I said, when life throws you, it's too late to build partnerships when you need it, and that's a crucial lesson I've learned in life. Like, when things go wrong, it's too late to build a partnership. I need help. I need a friend. Like, sorry, man. You got to be building that when life's good, and then when something happens, you've got those relationships. You've got that support, and so that's it. There, pretty much just hanging out with the fam and.
Well, you're a busy boy, mate, with the family, by the sound of it.
Yeah, that's it. Like, we got little kids. I mean, 2020, 2021, that's when I started the building business, decided to major renovation on my home. My eldest daughter left high school and got married, and we had our youngest daughter. So one of those things by itself is a major event. And we decided to throw all 4 in at the same time. And but it's fun. It's live. It's enjoyable. I love it. I love what I do. To me, anyone who gets up and whinges about, I don't like my job, it's Monday morning. I don't even like hump day Wednesday. Like,
every day is the same.
If you don't love what you do, guarantee there's something out there. there's people all over Australia who's looking for employee with whatever job that you could possibly want. If you set yourself a goal and work towards it, okay, maybe you can't be a doctor tomorrow, but you can start the process to being a doctor or whatever it's going to be. If you don't like being what you're doing now, go find something that you can like.
Yeah.
But enjoy your life. Like,
Yeah. Life's too short to muck around, isn't it? Like you've got to.
You're going to have hard days.
Yeah. But how much better is life if every day is happy, exciting?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't take much to get that. Like just, you're 100%, mate. Like you just got to find doing something you like.
That's it.
And whether it's something you're doing you like, or maybe the person that you're doing it with isn't the right person to be teaching you, like, well, leave. Go and find someone that you do get on with and you can work with.
That's it. Like, find a mission. Like to me, it's a mission. Like the Blues Brothers, mate. I'm on a mission from God. Like to me, that's what kept me going, even though I wanted to quit. Before things like now, okay, I got money in the bank. We got projects, but you still got to have like that thing. What gets me out of bed in the morning? Every morning that alarm goes off for 5:30. I get up. Right, here we go. Sometimes you're like, I don't want to get about. You know what? I'm doing it because I got something to do. And I want to get to the end of my life and say, I did what I could. I did what I could with the time I had.
Yeah.
I made some sort of impact. What impact did I make on this world?
And you're always putting your hardest.
Yeah.
No, well, mate, look, really appreciate you coming on today. Before we wrap it up, for people out there that are making excuses and telling themselves that the world's too hard and they're never going to achieve their job, what advice have you got for them?
Suck it up, princess. No, look, just have a go. You don't have to be, you don't have to start at the top. You can't start at the top, but have a go. Do what you can with what you've got. Take a step in the right direction. You might have to keep, like when I got my carpentry license, I made the mistake of going, right, I'm a carpenter now. I'm not one of these dodgy little handymans, right? I don't need that. I went around to all the real estates and said, we're just taking carpentry work. I don't want that handyman stuff, right? Don't send me that anymore. That worked for the first month because we had work banked up. And then all of a sudden I was like, I got nothing to do. And cap in hand went back to the real estate. Actually, we are going to take some handyman work now. If you don't mind, sorry. Just like, okay, we maintained that business. It kept on going. We kept on doing those little bits and pieces and started doing bigger ones on top of that. And same when we transitioned into the bigger building business, we still kept maintaining those smaller bits and pieces there until these ones here. And like we've still kept on doing the renovations and the smaller bits. Now I'm at the point now where I'm saying, okay, now we just want to do new homes. That's the goal I've been working to all these years. And so this is what we're going to do. But we've worked up to a position that now we can confidently say, I've got a market. We know that people know who we are. We know we've got some rungs on the board to be able to do that. But it took step by step by step, but make a start.
Yeah, the journey is just as important as the goal. Like you've got to take on everything you can along the way to make it happen.
Yeah, just keep going with what you can do, but make steps. It's having a decision. It's the direction where you go. If you read Napoleon Hill's, Think and Grow Rich, in the preface at the start, introduction of the book, he says, inside of this, in every chapter, hundreds of times, there's a secret, he says. And the first time I read that whole book through, I never picked what the secret was. And then the second time I just read, there's a secret, and I knew what it was. And the secret in that book is just know what you want. Know what you want. And so just...
It's know what you want, but don't chase what others want.
Yeah, even better.
Like that's what he says through that whole book, basically.
Yeah.
Like you've got to figure out what's important to you and chase your goals. Don't try to live other people's lives.
No. What is it for you? What do you want? What's your calling? What's your goal? Know what that is. Make that decision. And I know, like I said, we're talking about, what's been your breakthrough and things. When I've made a clear decision, say, that's what I want, that's what we're going for, always you get a breakthrough. Always you get a next thing. Like I said, it doesn't mean that tomorrow you're doing that thing, but there's a little opportunity, or you see a step, or there's a pathway. If I just do this, you at least see the next step that's going to get you towards it.
Yeah.
And so make the decision on what you actually want And it doesn't have to be what someone else. It doesn't have to be a $50 million business. It could be you and two apprentices just doing what you like to do, and that's great. If that's your job, you do that. You do it well.
Yeah.
But make a step in that direction.
Yeah. No, mate, thanks for coming down from Rocky. I'll definitely be calling in next time I'm up there again. I'd love to come up to the bloody big cattle sales they have up there. It's or cattle week, isn't it? They have a whole week.
We have beef week. Yeah,
beef week, that's it.
Every 3 years, beef week. Make sure you get your accommodation booked well in advance.
I'll definitely be making the trip up there for that at some stage, and we'll catch up. But, mate, appreciate your time. Love your story. I think it's going to inspire a lot of people. So, who knows? We might have to get you back for round 2 in a little while. But, look, guys, thanks for listening and watching. Make sure you like, subscribe so we can continue to make this Australia's #1 construction podcast. Make sure you go to the DuaynePearce.com website to grab your Level Up merchandise, and we'll see you on the next one. All right, guys, I want to introduce you to a really exciting new product that I believe is going to play a massive role in Australia building healthier homes. As you all know, I am extremely passionate about healthy homes, and I'm doing a lot of research and putting a lot of time and effort into making sure my construction business is leading the way when it comes to building healthy homes here in Australia. We've teamed up with the guys from Highwood Timber. Highwood Timber are pioneering condensation management with their high-flow ventilated LVL batten system. High-flow battens give builders a stronger, straighter and smarter way to create a ventilated cavity behind cladding and underneath roofs, without compromising on structural performance. While tackling condensation to improve building health and ease of installation, Highwood battens are built to perform. When it comes to dealing with condensation and ventilation, high-flow battens will help you create continuous ventilated cavities behind all your cladding and underneath your roof sheeting. They reduce condensation risk and support healthier, longer-lasting buildings. Highwood timber battens are also in alignment with the proposed NCC condensation management requirements, as well as passive house ventilation requirements. Being an engineered LVL product, they are stronger, straighter, and more dimensionally stable than a solid material such as pine. This helps resist warping, twisting, and shrinkage, ensuring more consistent installs, less prone to splitting than solid timber. Highwood timber battens are precisely manufactured, meaning that your installation will be faster and easier than other products on the market. The part that I like the most about these battens are they are H3 treated for long-term protection against decay and termites. They use a waterborne H3 treatment which reduces reactivity with membranes and adhesives when compared to LOSP. These are the exact battens that you want to be using on your homes and your builds if you are considering building healthier homes or passive homes. Check them out, Highwood Timber Products.